lives here.
One mind, one heart, one body. Saving the country. One person, one family, one entrepreneur, one town at a time. I have a new dream.
GBTV in 3, 2, 1.
I say today that if the world decides it must know who will stand with Israel, who will stand with the Jewish people, so they know exactly who to condemn later, who the target is. Let them know this. Condemn me. Target me. I will stand with Israel. I will stand with the Jewish people. And if they want to round all of us up again, I will proudly raise my hand and say, take me first.
Mr. Beck, my name is Rick Cutner, but most of my friends just call me Cowboy. Welcome to Texas, Glenn. For what it's worth, Mr. Beck, following your public announcement, word of your plan spread like a Texas wildfire, which just goes to show you how excited everyone is that you're moving to Texas. But when I witnessed what you did in Israel back in August, Glenn, I don't think there's another person on this planet I'm more proud of. In my humble opinion, you now stand on the same hallowed ground with people like Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, who, like you, once upon a time in the West, decided to stand with the few and protect them against the many. And if the opportunity ever presents itself, Glenn, just know here and now that I pledge to Almighty God that I will proudly stand right beside you in that battle for our world. God bless you and your family, Glenn Beck, and God bless America, who you're also unselfishly trying to protect. Now, Glenn, if you'd be so kind as to follow me back to my studio, I have a few important things that I would like to show you that I think you might be interested in. Well, Mr. Beck, these stacks of DVDs contain every important show you've done for the last 3 to 4 years. And as you can well imagine, I know quite a bit about your dreams and desires for our world, as well as your Mercury One endeavors. And possibly you might be wondering why I've contacted you, but perhaps I can let you answer that for yourself.
I'm tired of hiring people who don't get it. We don't. That's why everybody on my staff, as SE will tell you, is beat tired. Because we'd rather do it ourselves than have somebody else come in who just doesn't get it. And trying to find journalists that have gone through the system, they're so jaded and they're so spun around and they don't get it. We are going to. I'm going to start hiring and plucking from the tree. I'm not going to the barrel anymore.
Well, what can I say, Glenn, except that if you take the time to review this piece in its entirety, along with the documents that accompany it, that even you might find that I exceed your own expectations. At least I sure hope so, Glenn, because given my knowledge and experiences in life, just like you, I would like to spend the rest of my days in service to others. Okay, Glenn, I've really tried to keep this piece short and sweet, so hereafter, through 6 short segments, I will try to quickly touch upon what I perceive are the 6 most important issues that you would like to tackle initially, along with an explanation of how I plan to help you accomplish each and every one of them.
I showed you all about Shore Bank, the really good local bank, the leading faith-based lender. From Chicago, this bank got a $140 million bailout by other financial institutions. You know who put them over the top? GE. Oh, that's great. It's weird that all other banks are evil, blamed for our current economic troubles, predatory lending.
Glenn, without appearing to be boastful and with humility, may I explain that my life's experiences have allowed me to see and experience a number of things that the average person normally would or could not. Experiences that range from growing up with the Bush presidential family to eventually representing the premier of a West African nation. And discussions concerning not only the subject of corruption in Washington, but the rest of the world as well, and how it affects us all, happens to be one of my very favorite subjects for discussion. which I truly hope you will take me up on someday soon. And if you do, you may be amazed. Now, this next segment concerns your desires to develop a network of honest and concerned citizens, which, according to your 10% theory, Glenn, should only require us to organize a mere 36 million people out of a national population of around 360 million. But I'm not sure we're going to be able to count on the unions for their help here. But then, of course, we do have God on our side. And Glenn, you're thinking awful big for having just moved to Texas. But then again, that's what we do best down here. So you keep up the good work.
Time. Know where you actually stand as a human being. You don't have to be taught from some self-appointed leader with an agenda. Nobody has to come and tell you all of these things. You just have to understand what it is that you believe and know why you believe it. Look for your rights and your responsibilities. You know, over here on the set, it says 10%. 10% is a theory that we're going to get into probably next week. This is a God number, man. That is a number that is universal. 10%. And 10% change the world. 10% of your income changes your community. 10% of the American people, the people of the world, will change the world. Whether that be for good or for evil, 10% will change. But you have to be immovable, an immovable 10%. You can't just drift anymore. That's why you're here. You must do everything you can, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, to ensure the continuation of truth.
Now, Glenn, it's a shame we lost people like John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. Back then, all anyone had to do to get their morals straight was go see one of their movies. But not anymore, because today we all live in a modern philosophical society where old attitudes like that are simply out of date. You know, it's strange, but even as far back as 1983, I could see that that very attitude was creeping in and would eventually erode our society. So alarmed, even back then, I decided to start a nonprofit foundation, hopeful to eventually use film, music, and the literary arts to counter what I believe would eventually come. And through the years, I've even tried to develop alliances with other like-minded foundations like Billy Graham's film company, Worldwide Pictures, and the Campus Crusades for Christ film company, Inspirational Films, who, along with others, remain interested in preserving Christian and family-oriented entertainment that exhibit America's traditional social values. And with a well-organized effort, perhaps these very art forms, among others, could be used to not only help us build a network of devout citizens, but also generate the revenue needed to further your Mercury One endeavors. And you know, Glenn, speaking of the entertainment industry, these very mediums might also be used to help portray your fondness for this next man, along with the wonderful messages you two share.
Well, John Adams, who signed the Declaration, and he signed the capstone on the Constitution, Bill of Rights. He's there from start to finish for American government. He said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and a religious people. It's wholly inadequate for the government of any other. Washington's farewell address says, of all the habits and dispositions that lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. These guys never saw it secular.
This last summer, I spent a lot of time with Deuteronomy getting ready for the Jerusalem trip. And I think I called you right away and said, David, have you ever noticed the similarities between Deuteronomy and George Washington's farewell address? They go hand in hand.
They do.
You know, it's the same thing. Remember how good God has been to you. Teach it to your children and obey.
Beck, you're absolutely right about David Burton possibly being one of the most important men in America today. Every time I hear the man tell stories about our forefathers and the Constitution, it's like he knew them somehow. And the man does have an absolutely uncanny grip on the facts. And concerning your belief that today's younger generations no longer obtain large amounts of their information from movies and such, then we need to discover new storytelling techniques that will help attract these younger viewers. And in David Burton's case, we simply need to work on better ways to help David enhance his own God-given storytelling abilities, but in such a way that will also attract younger viewers. I know an old writer named Lee Roddy who wrote such acclaimed films as The Lincoln Conspiracy and The Life and Time of Grizzly Adams, among others. Some years ago, Lee was helping me with an epic film story that I'm still working on. But during my stay with Lee in California, he showed me an incredible series concept that he was developing called Turning Points. There's no time to explain it here, but Lee created a unique approach to telling true stories about famous early Americans who experienced certain turning points, within their own lives, which not only dramatically affected them, but actually gave birth to some of our country's most notable historical events. And using something as simple as a unique storytelling technique might be all that it would take to help propel David's work to the forefront of all Americans. I have some other ideas that I would like to explore with you regarding David's unique knowledge and talents. But let's not forget here that he's already accomplished the hardest part of what he does. The rest is simply a matter of good taste and planning. Now, Mr. Beck, regarding this next segment, I already loved you before you even stood up for Israel. But when you took on this next battle, you solidified my desire to stand with you for the rest of my natural life. You've not only taken it upon yourself to attack Obama and his den of thieves, but then you decided to also take on the spooky dude himself. Then if that wasn't enough, you went right to the rock and tackled the entire Muslim nation, right smack dab in the middle of Ramadan. And now you're going after the IRS? Lord, dude, watch this.
Important for you to know, we have less than a week now to get involved, and I need you to mobilize as quickly as you can. I need you to now take this information and move. America is a Judeo-Christian nation, and just like every other time in our nation's history, the answer will come from the pulpit, from moral leaders connecting us with the things that are true. The pulpit is a place that has led the American Revolution, the first great awakening. That's where the seeds of our nation were planted. Men like George Whitefield, the spiritual grandfather of the American Revolution, one of the greatest evangelists of all time. It was this that led to the American Revolution. It was also the pulpit that led to the abolition of slavery. Abolitionism in America, the second great awakening, massive religious revival. The American abolition movement was, to great extent, the political arm of the massive religious revival, the second one. Third one, the end of that first was the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King. It was this Baptist pastor, his philosophy of nonviolence based in Christian teachings. Reverend Billy Graham refused to permit segregated seating at his crusades. He invited MLK to share the stage with him during the crusade at the Madison Square Garden here in New York City, 1957. We've had great awakenings. It is time now for the last one, and I believe we're in it.
Glenn, God bless you for taking up the cross. If you can help bring together an army of the righteous who are willing to not only stand up to, but actually defeat the IRS, then there may still be a chance for this old country of ours after all. And possibly now, through the doors that you are helping tear down at the IRS, we may even be able to eventually penetrate the inner doors of the IRS's true masters, the Federal Reserve System itself. And who these scoundrels really are remains the greatest mystery of all time. And as you may recall from earlier in this presentation, this subject concerning the world's truly non-great financial powers is by far my most favorite subject for discussion. And I would love nothing more than an opportunity to see these filthy scoundrels brought to justice and then stoned Muslim style during my lifetime. Glenn, on a happier note, during one of your recent shows, you introduced one of your associates, a Miss S.E. Cupp, who graciously expressed both of your desires to effectively begin collaborating with both students and faculty of various colleges and universities around the country. Let's watch this next clip, then allow me to offer you a few suggestions.
I help. S.E. Cupp was one of the first hires that we made a year ago?
Almost,
S.E.?
yeah.
Almost a year ago. And S.E. is, she speaks at colleges and goes all over, and you've really kind of taken some of the things and just run with it.
Right.
And one of the things you've come up with is a video diary.
Right. Well, I mean, as you said, I go everywhere, and I'm seeing the anti-Israeli sentiment. We have a story coming up about that. We work with great organizations like Young America's Foundation and Claire Booth Lewis. We've brought some experts in from there, and we're doing these student diaries so that people can get a glimpse of what life is like for the conservative college student on a very liberal campus. We have a UCLA student, a John Jay College student, and a St. Louis University student. So all over the country, we'll be tuning into them throughout the semester to see what kind of experience they're having.
So, Essie, I see the diaries more than just educating somebody like me on how bad it is. What else is the
Yeah,
the
I
goal?
mean, the point is, I can't be everywhere. You can't be everywhere. I would like to go to every college campus and get everyone's story. And believe me, I'm emailed hundreds of them. But this is a way for all of us to follow 3 students. Now, if you're a student at another college, we also have an outlet for you to upload your videos at the Blaze. I mean, we want to be your one-stop media shop.
Glenn, what was portrayed in that clip that both you and SC appear to be trying to accomplish reminds me of a theatrical and film studio project that I was once involved with in Austin, Texas, home of the University of Texas. As a producer managing a group of talented artists, we acted to collaborate with both the students and faculty of various schools in much the same way that you guys are trying to do. The biggest difference being that our interests were directed more towards a given school's radio, television, and film and performing arts departments. Having been closely watching what you two, and even Will, appear to be trying to accomplish, outside of Essie's video diaries concepts, your efforts closely resemble that which I was involved with in Austin. However, in addition to developing a collaboration between ourselves and personnel within various schools in the area, I also sought to acquire the involvement and assistance of local media outlets to help support and promote our objectives. In the end, the organization we pulled together turned out to be a very satisfying endeavor from both a professional and personal perspective. Now, Glenn, with regards to your new sidekick, Will, and his new boot camp for journalists,
the Blaze will be coming possibly to campuses near you. We'll be doing boot camps where we'll go talk to young, conservative, libertarian, free market, aspiring journalists, and we'll do boot camp training sessions to help them learn how to be the best they can be.
Glenn, Will sure seems like an enthusiastic young man who's obviously dedicated to his goals. And Glenn, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to attract and provide support for aspiring young creative writers and journalists for obvious reasons. Reflecting back on my previous experience in Austin, adding creative writers and journalists into a mix that we've already proven successful may actually offer far greater potential. Let me give you an example. Listening to SC, it sounds like she may already be considering something like this, but if not, outside of what Will and SC are attempting to accomplish individually on their own, possibly you might consider packaging their talents together and using that energy to solicit participation by others on a given project or objective, like a particular video diary, for example. Then I can show you how we can go about acquiring the assistance and participation of writing and journalism and radio, television, and film departments within various accredited schools to help us develop and produce worthy projects. And this can all be done pretty much at a given school's own expense. The concept is quite similar in scope to that which my team in Austin was able to accomplish at the University of Texas in particular. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, the key to this concept succeeding remains the fact that having well-known companies like GBTV and The Blaze on the sidelines providing their guidance and support offers each and every one involved an opportunity to get either their contributions recognized, published, or exhibited someday. And good publicity has never hurt a college or university as far as I know.
That's why we're going to be involved in Mercury One. This is the new logo of Mercury One. This is going to be a service project. This is where I will eventually end my career. This is where I will spend the rest of my days in service of others.
Glenn, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, at least as much as I've enjoyed putting it together for you. And hopefully this piece has enabled you to see that I've been closely following your footsteps for some time now. And based upon this information, along with the collateral materials provided you, hopefully you've recognized the potential that I might be able to offer you, your network, and your Mercury One endeavors. And Glenn, if you take the time to interview me, you will see that there's virtually nothing that I cannot do for you. And in fact, I should be able to support your efforts in ways that others simply cannot. With that said, may I humbly ask that you consider engaging me on a full-time basis and allow me to use my life's experiences and considerable talents to help you develop your Mercury One organization. And having been preparing myself for this particular day for the greater part of my life, may I also ask that I be allowed to stand right beside you in that battle for our world. Well, Glenn, the rest is up to you. But may I finally say how very proud I am of you for all the work you've done so far. And may God bless all of your worthy endeavors. Hope you enjoyed Texas, Glenn. Thanks for watching.
The truth lives here.
One mind, one heart, one body, saving the country, one person, one family, one entrepreneur, one town at a time.